thank you for coming to the Archon screening of The Devil at Lost Creek. We have here cast and crew from the film, and we're going to have a little discussion about the movie. Could everyone introduce yourselves and what you did in the film, starting with you?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Eric Williams. I played Deputy Allen.
Okay.
I played Deputy. Oh, yeah, that was Joe. Sorry. I'm the other one. I'm a little tired today.
My name's Joe Hammerstone. I played, well, the other deputy, Deputy Allen, in the feature.
My name is Carlos Valenzuela. I played
Bishop.
Bishop.
Yeah, there you go. James Bishop.
Hi, my name is Carson Anthony, and I played Gary. Hi, my name is Cindy Hackney, and I played Joe.
I'm Shantae Chanel, and I played Diane Farlow.
Yeah, John Rosicich. I did a lot of stuff behind the scenes, lighting and sound, set preparation, things like that.
Okay.
And I'm Raymond Castile. I directed the film, and I played the Bigfoot.
Right.
So, before we do anything else, is there anyone who would like to ask any questions of anyone up here? If you don't have a question, make one up.
Sure. The sound editing. When the Bigfoot was attacked, okay, it sounded like you had one section was almost like a wood, and then another section sounded like it had a drum beat in it. I was wondering what the difference that was.
So, one time when the Bigfoot attacked, the background was like the woods, like background sound of the woods, and another time when the Bigfoot attacked, there was like a drum beat. Well, I did have different music. The first time the Bigfoot attacked, I had a lot of eerie music, and not really much of a beat. The second time the Bigfoot attacked, I did have a more rhythmic musical score that had it probably did have something like a drum, boom, boom, boom kind of sound. Is that what you're talking about, or do you mean more like the sound of the Bigfoot?
No, I'm talking about when they were huddled together, and the walls kept fishing in the air. Burn down,
yes, okay.
That's
when they're huddled together in that room, the mom and the two kids, and you hear, that's the Bigfoot pounding on the walls, because the two kids had been hitting a stick throughout the film 3 times to call the Bigfoot, and he was answering them. He was like, okay, you called me, pow, 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 what do you want? Pow, pow, pow. He was responding what they were doing. So they were hitting a stick against trees the whole time through the film, and so when the Bigfoot came, he was repeating what they had done.
Okay.
And it's not supposed to make perfect sense. I wanted it to be a little ambiguous about, is the Bigfoot pounding, or I didn't want it to make perfect sense, but that's the best I can explain it. I wanted it to hint at something supernatural a little bit, almost like a poltergeist kind of thing, like you weren't sure, is this Bigfoot physical, is it supernatural, is it really there? I wanted it to be a little bit ambiguous. Would anyone like to add to that?
That was actually me doing all the pounding.
It was actually me pounding on his head.
Yeah.
Yes?
Were you guys scared of the Bigfoot at all when you saw it? You knew what it was?
No, but when we watched the film, I was scared. I don't like the beginning when he's all like, and then he's like.
You mean like that? The still image is not moving, right? Yeah, it's scary. How about you? Were you scared of anything?
No.
You're not scared of anything, are you? No.
But you were pretty scared, weren't you?
Anyone else have any questions?
Okay, let me ask a question. The house that they were in with no plumbing or anything, is that actually in the state of Missouri that you found and shoot that scene, or what?
Yeah, that house. You're asking where did we find the house, and was it really that decrepit? Yes, the house.
Yes.
Yes. That house is.
I was actually scared.
That is an antique house from the 19th century. I spent several months scouting locations for this film. I didn't think I'd find a place like that. A friend of mine, her name's Annie Schulte, she owned that property. And she said, Raymond, you're looking for like a rural, spooky setting? I got just the place for you. So we drove out about 90 minutes into the country, and she showed me this dilapidated, abandoned house that was at least 100 years old. She said it used to be slave quarters. It dated back to the slave era, so mid-19th century. And it was a spooky place. There was like an underground bunker, and I think she said something like slaves either tried to hide there, or the owner tried to store them, or there was some inhumane horror story. She didn't have all the details, but it was a place that had some bad history dating back to the slave era, and no one had lived there in decades. The wallpaper, it looked like maybe 50s or 60s, it looked like 40 years old, and it was in bad shape. The walls were coming down, there were holes in the walls, holes in the floors. We were afraid the place was going to fall on us. Everything was rotted. It was surprising that it hadn't been condemned. And I said, yes, this is the place we're going to shoot this movie. And there was no running water, there was no electricity, there was nothing. But there was a property within about 100 yards or so that did have electricity. So we were able to run lines from that house to the old crummy house to get our lighting. Would anyone like to talk about the experience of shooting in that house?
Well, it was worse than what you saw in the film. We had to clean it up a lot. We had to repair stairs and stuff, make it safer. In fact, a lot of the set design was getting stuff out of there and out of the way and stuff, and rearranging it so that it looked better, because it was much, much worse than what you saw in the film.
And yet there was a big huge closet full of antique stuff.
I think, what was that again?
There was a big huge, like, remember in the back room there was a bunch of like antique stuff?
Oh, there was a bunch of antique stuff in the back.
We saw like this old camera, was like so huge, so heavy.
Old candles?
No,
Camera. Oh, okay. I don't remember the camera.
It was a video camera. And it's a high-end one.
Oh, all right. It was like an old video camera back there. There was a lot of old junk there. I left it there. I mean, it wasn't mine. Annie has sold that property. So, yeah, so I can't go back there and use that unless I talk to the... I would imagine that the new owner, if they have any sense, will just bulldoze that over.
You know she sold it.
I don't know what she sold it for. I don't know.
Oh, I got something to say about this place.
Okay.
So, the property that it was on had this other place that we were running lines from and stuff. One of the first impressions of the place was we had to get the power going, which was turned off at the time. And as we approached the house, there was just like this noise that came out of nowhere, which was all these flies and stuff that were swarming around a refrigerator that was full of food that was sitting on the back porch in the sun and had been for a while. And it was really, really, really disturbing. It set the mood for the whole place. It's like whenever they got this property, evidently they left it with all the food and everything inside, and they just pushed it outside. And so
I can tell you a little bit about that. The house next to that old house, there was a two-story house next to it, which was also very old, but not in as bad shape as that. There had been a man living there, and he had been renting that house. Not the one you saw in the movie, the one next to it. The man was some kind of bounty hunter. And we went out there to scout it, and he was there. And he was showing us around, and he seemed like he was kind of a character. When we went back, he was gone. He had left suddenly in the night. He had a family. He wasn't alone. Literally in the middle of the night, they just took off and left. They left all their belongings at the house. They left their automobile. He had a van or a truck for his bounty hunting business, and he just left it in the field. Annie and I went through the house. I guess it had been abandoned by that point a week or two. She didn't realize that. She discovered it for the first time with me when I was there. We were saying, where is everybody? Where'd they go? There was food just out on the counter. There was clothes all over. And the refrigerator had lost the power. I don't remember if the entire house had lost the power at that point and we had to restart the power, or if it was just the refrigerator. But the refrigerator had been without power for at least a week. And she opened it and bugs came out. And somehow she got that onto the back porch. I didn't pull that out. I think that she did that after I left. She got some help and did that. But the only thing that was unusual, besides the fact that they had gone, the only sign that something weird had happened was in one room there was a rubber chicken hanging from a chandelier by its neck as if it had been hung. There was like a rubber chicken hanging by its neck right in the middle of the room from a chandelier, and that was almost like it was a sign. Everything else was just like they had just gotten up and just left the house, except that rubber chicken, which hadn't been there the time before. So to this day, we don't know, well, I don't know what happened to the guy. He was a bounty hunter. Maybe one of the people he was hunting decided to hunt him and had to get out of town. I don't know.
Here's your next door.
I don't know. So
You're saying Bigfoot got him.
maybe Bigfoot got, maybe he banged a stick 3 times. I don't know. Any other questions?
What was your inspiration for the story? I mean,
What was my inspiration for the story?
Was it Bigfoot, or did you come across Lost Creek and go, oh, that would be awesome?
Well, yes, Lost Creek, when I was scanning locations, that Lost Creek sign's really there, that bridge is really there near that house, and I wasn't planning on calling it the Devil at Lost Creek. I didn't know what I was going to call it until I saw that sign and that bridge, Lost Creek, and I said, well, I've got to use this in the movie. That's a great name, and that's where the name came from. It was something I found on location. I didn't know what I would call it until I saw that sign, and it all fell into place. Also, originally, we weren't going to see so much of the mom. My original concept was a shorter film. It would just be the kids in the woods, lost. We might see the mom at the very beginning. Then the kids would get lost. Carlos's character would show up and harass them. Bigfoot would come, kill Carlos. The end. It was a very short film. And when I discovered this location, I said, well, is this too good to just put it at the beginning of the film and not see any more of it? And then I started expanding the story. I've been a fan of Bigfoot movies since I was a little kid. I watched movies like The Legend of Boggy Creek and The Mysterious Monsters, Creature from Black Lake, Curse of Bigfoot, all kinds of crazy Bigfoot movies from the 70s. My dad, who's actually in the audience there, he took me to the theater to see some of these things when they were actually new in theaters. And I've always loved Bigfoot. I've been fascinated by it. And making films, I want to make films about things that interest me. And we just saw Blind Date of Coffin Joe. Coffin Joe is something that interests me. Bigfoot is something that interests me. So I made a movie about it. I wanted to give it sort of an urban legend or a folklore kind of feel. That's why I did the 3-stick thing that gave it, instead of just they're in the woods and there's a Bigfoot, I wanted to give it a little bit of a supernatural quality and make it seem like a campfire tale. And I don't know where that came from, the 3-stick. I don't remember how that popped in my head, but it did. And I said, yeah, that gives it the quality
Kind of
that I
reminded me
want.
of the Bloody Mary, you know.
Yeah, yeah. It has that urban legend feel. And then as far as the second half of the film, when things get really, really dark, I wanted it to make it more contemporary. I wanted to bring it out of the 70s nostalgia, like drive-in movie nostalgia, and make it more today. So that's why I had the police, and the Division of Family Services, and the taser, and the more extreme violence at the end. So it's got both. It's got the more kind of nostalgic thing, and it's got more of the intense modern film feeling to it. Anyone want to add anything to that?
Yeah, when I showed up on the set, I was like, wow, this is really going to be a horror film. And you could maybe die out here. This is the middle of nowhere. But I enjoyed it. It was great. I enjoyed being part of it.
You thought you were going to die out there?
Well, not die, but I'm like, oh man, what did this director have in mind for us?
It's pretty creepy. When he said it was out in the country,
Yeah,
it hit me.
I was really amazed. I was like, how did you find these broken down buildings? Oh my god. This is what you find in studios. But yeah, that was really nice.
Do you guys do acting in other types of films too? guys have been doing a lot of films.
Yeah.
Does anyone want to talk about some of their other projects? How about you, Eric?
Yeah.
Well, you saw the world premiere of Johnny B. Gone. That's one that that we worked on. Me and Joe are both leads in that, and that'll be hopefully coming out. He's trying to premiere it by Halloween, but November at the latest. So, I also I worked on a feature called The Man in the Maze, which is supposed to be coming out only for theatrical by the end of the year.
Let's see, yeah, we have, that's coming out, he said around Halloween, hopefully. I did a picture earlier this year in northern Missouri with some other fellow St. Louis actors who went out there. It's called Love of Moonface. Kind of like a, well, it's like a brother story, and there's just a baby involved, and it should be really cool. I really like to see a trailer of that pretty soon, and I think that'd be pretty good. Yeah, just random different shorts.
Good enough.
Yeah.
I've been doing film since 2007. I've been fortunate to be involved in some big projects that came along out here in St. Louis. The last one was Up in the Air, and I was a stand for one of the actors. So, and I travel either doing film or modeling either in Chicago, St. Louis, Florida, or Kansas City. So, kind of
I don't really know what to say.
What's your Walmart commercial or United
Yeah.
Airlines?
Well, United Airlines was my first commercial. They gave me this little tiny truck. I was like, well, now I'm too big for it. I would like, during the shoot, I would like ride down it. I would sit on the United Airlines truck. I would just ride down the driveway, but now I'm just too big and it was like so small.
That's fun. Commercial.
Yeah, we went to a Honda commercial, and then it was really cool because we actually because we went by like a lake, and then we got to go to the dock, and then we actually got to ride in the car.
So both of you are doing commercials. Like what the commercials? Honda?
Honda, Walmart, they do a lot of the like Southeast Missouri State Hospital.
So they got Honda, Walmart,
United
Southeast
Airlines,
Missouri State Hospital. They're doing
Walmart
commercials.
greeting card. They're getting around the block.
I've been doing theater since I was 10. I moved to Missouri about 5 years ago. Met Carlos, and this is how I got set up with Ray. I did a Better at College commercial and a Lakeville culinary commercial this past summer that has yet to air yet. It should be airing pretty soon. And I've done some web series that are like independent, and I've just been really working and going to school, and hopefully there's more coming.
Haven't been doing too much. Did a 48-hour film project this year about serial killer support group. And I don't know. I'm involved in a lot of different
You
things.
almost have some intrigue about the serial killer support group. That's another movie in itself, I think.
It's pretty funny. Yeah, just a handful of random stuff. I'm part of a hackerspace in St. Louis, archery actor. We got like a workshop and stuff. We teach electronics, and it's a place where people that are artists or technologists get together and work on different things. Probably going to be doing some filmmaking out of there. So.
And I'm trying to develop a couple more short films. I'm working my way up to tackling a feature. I think I need to do at least 2 more short films before I try my hand at a feature. So I have a couple ideas for short films I'd like to produce in 2011. They're both horror films. I would like to make a name in horror. I'd like to be known for horror and dark fantasy. So the 2 ideas I have, one is very gothic, and the other is more contemporary. One is kind of urban, the other is very rural. And they both have to deal with racism and discrimination. I'm very much into social themes. It's not because I feel like I've got to have a message. It's just that's the way my brain thinks. Things in society, things in life make me angry and make me want to do something, and that goes into what I write. So even in both of these films, there are things about society that upset me, and I put that in the film. And right now, I'm upset at what I see as, instead of people coming together, I see more divisiveness. I see racism, I see homophobia, I see Islamophobia, I see all kinds of phobia, and both these ideas I have deal with that. One is more about racism, the other is more about homophobia, and I'd like to do them both the same year because they're both kind of the same mindset, even though one is very different from the other. My goals with them both are very similar, so I want to do them when I'm in the same frame of mind. And also, I just want to get more movies made. It takes me a long time to develop these things. I write it in my head for a year before I write it on paper. Like Lost Creek changed a lot. Going through many different story versions, being longer, being shorter, until it arrived at what it is. And the Coffin Joe thing changed a lot. And I'm sure these things I'm thinking of now are going to need to percolate for a couple more months at least, and maybe by Christmas I can start actually trying to write them. One of them is an adaptation of a famous story that's in the public domain from the 19th century, but it's a contemporary adaptation. It takes it from the period it's set, puts it in the modern day, or maybe even in the future, and changes some things. The other is an original story. Don't want to say too much about it. It's more country horror, kind of like what you saw here. People out in the country experiencing something horrible. So that's what I'm working on now. Any other questions? Yes.
Okay. Now, the James Bishop character, I noticed he didn't have a bag of any sort when he went in. So my question is,
Dark continuity.
Yeah. The bag, did he just leave it at the lady's house and expect her to hide it open, or was it supposed to be unopened? Which was it?
Okay, so James Bishop, that's Carlos's character.
Exactly.
He, when he was knocking on the door, he did not have a bag.
Not a bag. No bag.
Okay.
Didn't bid down for it?
All right. And when he walked in, now I don't even remember myself. When he walked in, does he put the bag on a table, or is it already there? Or it's already there. That's just a mistake then.
Okay.
There's no. I'm sorry.
Good that you were closely watching it enough that you saw that. So we thank you.
Oh, you have a question?
No.
Well, ask a question anyway. Think of something.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Are you all big on
Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Like Halloween. It's the best day of the
She's
year.
gonna be in
It is my favorite.
almost every single year I do like a skeleton. Like last year I wore like a glow in the dark skeleton with like a ghost costume. So then it was like glow in the dark roses. And I think I'm gonna do it this Halloween too.
I go to haunted houses, none in the city, but other rural countries. It was awesome. Yeah, one day.
I will say that, well, I've done 2 pictures with Raymond, and it's a good time. It's fun. And well, I guess I should preface this by saying I don't see him often in normal getup, because every time he's directed me in costume.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool, and like it was kind of funny too when I was sitting and he's directing the others. I'm not in the seat. It's like you got Bigfoot telling people what to do and moving people around. Karen and I were outside laughing a little bit.
Which is great
It's kinda
because
funny.
your jaw and like your mask kept like coming out of place when you're.
My jaw kept
maybe you're
falling
standing
off.
over there.
Right, and that's how we first met. He was in Coffin Joe getup.
Right. So.
I'm a big fan. Well, first of all, at least about Halloween. Does anyone else want to say what they're doing for Halloween? Okay. So I don't know what I'm going to dress up as, but I'm organizing a couple of things. Every year for the past 4 years, I've organized a community Halloween party through the JCs, which is like a service organization. This year, we're doing a haunted hayride. So I'm organizing this haunted hayride for the JCs. It's one night in St. Charles County, October 30th. I'm also organizing a party for a charity called St. Joachim and Anne Care Service, doing a Halloween party for that organization. They help low-income families and homeless families, so they're going to invite all those families to come to this party. So those are 2 activities I'm doing for Halloween. Other than that, I don't know. I'm going to a Rob Zombie concert next week. That'll be cool.
Yeah.
Rob Zombie and all too. Yeah. That's the first time I've seen either of them in concert, so that'll be neat. As far as what I'm going to dress up as, I don't know. I've got a Crimson Ghost costume that I wear every year. If you don't know who the Crimson Ghost is, if you know who the Misfits are, the band, Crimson Ghost is their mascot. It's that skull with the hood on that comes from a cereal. I don't know if it's 40s or 50s. It's old. 40s. So I've got a costume with that character, and I usually just wear that same thing every year. Now, I was going to say, what the heck was I going to say before I started talking here?
Was that talking about you
Yeah,
costume?
okay, directing and costume. I'm a big fan of José Mujica Marins, who's Coffin Joe in Brazil, and he directs in costume a lot of times. If he's not in the scene at all that day, then maybe he wouldn't have his costume on. But since he's usually in the scenes, he's walking around with his hat and his cape and everything, directing. So it's like the character is like directing you, and that kind of inspired me. That these 2 movies was necessity. I really didn't have much choice. I was in the one, Coffin Joe, I had to be on costume, be on the scene. And the Bigfoot thing, if there wasn't a Bigfoot scene that day, I didn't just show up as Bigfoot. But it was necessity. So, but
It's fun.
But I kind of, so I had to do it, but also I was sort of inspired by Mujica in costume directing. I kind of had that in my head too. So it was kind of fun for me because I was doing the same kind of thing he would do, dressed up in a costume, directing something.
Did you tell them what the title of that movie is?
Oh, the Coffin Joe movie that I did in Brazil. It's called Encarnação do Demonio, which translates as the embodiment of evil. The embodiment of evil is the English title. Any other questions?
Did you go to like school for acting?
Did anyone go to school for acting?
In Nebraska, I went to Omaha South High School, which is a magnet school for performing arts. So I went to performing arts school.
Most of my training are usually coaches from melody.
My training is my mom.
Oh.
And Miss Kate.
They do a lot of commercial acting classes.
Anyone else? Do you have any training?
I mean, I went to school for theater, and I love theater, but I sort of went the other way.
My training is, oh man, that stunk. Because I went for film studies, that really wasn't too much with acting.
And I went to Webster Film School. My degree is from Lindenwood University, radio and television communications. So, no, I certainly didn't go to acting school because I never thought I would do any acting. But I did want to direct, and my Webster training does relate directly to film directing. Most of the classes I took at Webster had to do with filmmaking. So that's my training. Any other questions? We have quiet people over there. Anyone have questions over there? No. How about over here? No.
Not really.
I was actually at a screening of this film in Louisville, Kentucky, and after it was over, that was a terrific screening because we had like at least 100 people watching this thing, and that created like an energy in the audience, so that there was like a tension when it was over, and it was like, I don't want to say like communication like verbal, but there was something going on in the audience when it was over. It was like a shared feeling, and somebody, I know who it was, but a man in the audience banged something 3 times. He was in a scooter, and he banged, I don't know what he used, but after the credits finished, there was like silence, and then on a scooter, he went, pow, 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 and the whole audience went, and everyone laughed. So, but because there was like a tension in the air when it was finished, he broke that by doing that. Everyone kind of jumped, but Bigfoot didn't appear. Well, I was there, but Bigfoot didn't appear.
He might show up later.
Yeah, Bigfoot showed up later. Anyone want to say anything else about this film? All right, one last call. Okay.
Okay. In the movie, Bigfoot gains intelligence because he takes her flashlights and beat her to death instead of biting like he did the other one. So how did that transition from being animalistic to having some degree of intelligence?
Okay, so your question is, Bigfoot seems to show intelligence because he goes from eating other people, like those three gentlemen, he eats them. But with Shantae, he beats her.
Bashes her head in with a flashlight, yes.
So because he's using a tool, that's what makes it showing intelligence?
It's a little different because I thought he was going to bite her too.
Why doesn't he bite her? Okay. Well, I didn't want it all to be the same. I'd already had biting him, biting these guys. I wanted something different with her. And I can't tell you where the flashlight idea came from, but I just wanted a different kind of kill for her. And I thought, see, I think violence, I think brutality is scarier than gore. I think when you have like blood and something eating or cutting you, that's scary, but I think sometimes just a more brutal, blunt kind of violence is actually more frightening or shocking than gory violence. So I find the kill on this character in some ways more scary, more shocking, because it's brutal, it's more physical, boom, 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 instead of which is more like a fantasy kind of a kill, because in real life, you're not going to go up to someone and eat them. That doesn't really happen, normally. But people do beat each other up and club each other over the head. And so it was variety, it was trying to get, also because it was more of a taboo, because it's a female character, so you're supposed to treat women very gently and be gracious and a gentleman with a woman. So it's more taboo breaking, more crossing the line to be more brutal with the female character instead of the male character. So there was more of it was more socially unacceptable to be more brutal with the female character. In a horror movie, you want to cross the line, you want to break taboos and be more socially unacceptable. So psychologically, I thought that would be more shocking. But mainly it was just for variety. I didn't want anyone to die the same way. I wanted something different.
Plus, there's a flashlight there. I mean,
yeah, there's a prop.
Yeah, it's like, he's fighting her. She had a flashlight. He was there. Why not beat her with it?
Right.
And it makes logical sense.
The next time you're around in public and someone's got a flashlight, she's got a flashlight. Why not beat her with it? That's good, perfectly good logic.
I mean, it's like a stick. I mean, from Bigfoot's point of view, it's this stick-like object. It's got some weight. Why not?
Why not? We did a special. Well, I don't know if it helps, but we did makeup on Shantae. I did a prop flashlight. They had like a cutaway section. I did some makeup on her. Actually ruined some of her jeans. Her favorite pair. I'm sorry. So we had a shot, and we did shoot it of the fat flashlight like digging into her skull. It was like I made like a rubber flashlight head that was had a section cut away, and did like some fake skin and blood and makeup. Make it look like the flashlight's actually buried in her skull, and it just didn't cut. It, again, like what I was saying, it was actually scarier just to have the thud of the hitting the character was more brutal to do that than to see an effect. The blood actually made it softer, more fantasy than the more realistic just kind of. So I cut that. I didn't use it.
Plus, there's one other aspect going on here. Bigfoot, when he's feeding her, he's close quarters with her. Everybody else was like an action movie, it was like standing up and stuff. That was more in the kill. So I mean, he had time to do stuff to her that he couldn't do to the guys that are walking along and breaking the necks and stuff. So,
the discussion to a very grisly end.
Thank you for seeing us.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for being here. Thank you for watching us. Thank you everyone for being here on the panel. Thanks again.